July 2nd. It can either be morning, afternoon, or night, or it can be um what I want to say. Um it can be Thursday morning. Yeah, Diddy got guilty of two, but he didn't get the heavy. The heavy didn't stick. So Diddy about to walk. Let's be real. That they got with, you know, and I look at it as a W. Because I mean, let's be realistic. It was all about the Rico. Let's keep it 100. If he don't beat that, then he don't walk. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, they should go ahead and drop the they should drop that whole thing. I mean, he won the main thing. They crossed out 1, 2, and 4. So what they got him with, they should let him walk, basically. Because those are negotiable. And they carry a little weight, but they're nowhere near what he was looking at. There's a big difference when you're talking about 15 to life or you're talking about a 5 to 10, which can be negotiated. And they messed up bad. And of course he probably would get pardoned on that. That would basically be him sentenced to his crib, you know. Um they messed up bad. They messed up bad. And for the record, no, I am not no Diddy fan like that. I like the stuff he did by the people he worked with. But I never was he don't know talent hack fluffy. But at the same time, I can tell you when there's a bad case. That was a joke. Government should be ashamed of themselves. You spent all that tax money on a case that you was trying to push a RICO. Black man in RICO? Are you kidding me? Frico, yeah, RICO, no. Not surprised or shocked, really. Because the truth is, they should have cleared the decks because the one doesn't really equal out. They had to get him with something, but they couldn't get the severity. And as far as I'm concerned, if you can't get the severity, your case is weak sauce. That's how I look at it. Um, I just think that they wasted people's time. They wasted the money. They embarrassed themselves. They took a major L. Now, I hope he got his wake up call. I hope that he understands they don't like him, that they ain't got no love for him. I hope he gets it. Don't you ever, ever is so much even sneeze or breathe or look cross-eyed in this court again. How you doing? What's happening? Good to see you. Because if you even in so much act like you want to enter that spot, he is gonna be ostracized. He will be ostracized. There won't be no more, ain't gonna be no more Hamptons and all that. It's gonna be done, you know. But he got, again, it's also a takedown of black entertainers and men. That's what's up. Now, all those people that was hating and acting like they would avoid him, they called the vapors. Yeah. Where you at, Alicia Keys and Shaq and Jay-Z and all of them? All of them. I give I'll give Mace props because Mace said he'd still go check him out. I give him that. But Gene Deal did all that talking, and you caught a major L. A lot of them catching an L because they thought he was bye, 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 bye. Clive Davis, too. I mean, the fakery of that industry, the fakery. Now, his case looked worse than R. Kelly's, but the difference is that he got money to back it, and he also actually things just didn't really. They were consensual, and they went into the case got basically they should have pulled out the government prosecution should have pulled out a long time ago. They wasted their time with it for that to get that kind of sentence. To get that kind of sentence with that much money and everything involved, that was not a good look. That was not good. So they got to take a L for that. And I think I might be on this stuck screen again. They don't like me to do multitasking, but oh well. So if you don't see me, it's because they hit me up with the screen again. Oh well. That's if anybody decides to come through today. But we are live today and we're talking about the Diddy case and the verdict. Um, because they had to get him for something. They said flying him in, but they can't prove. They didn't prove that he was doing it in a pimp capacity, but cross state lines is what it is. But that particular charge, it doesn't carry near as much weight. He's looking at two fives, two tens, which be concurrent, which once you cut that down and then they go by guidelines and they go by everything, and he's already almost done a year in the joint. So, say for instance, if he was to sit in a can to the rest of the summer and it goes all the way to the summer, well, that would be half of it. Am I too far away now? Am I too far away? Can you not hear me? Give me a one if you can hear me. Give me a one. Um, he got a situation where they can. It's negotiable. It's a what he got charged with carries little weight. Thank you. Little weight. What he's got left is little weight. I watched TMZ yesterday, and Harvey Levin was like, "Oh, it looks all bad." Now, had this show been flipped the other way, and he'd have just, he's not getting 20 years. There's a 5 to 10, but so hear me out. 5 to 10 at the most. But because he's already done some bidding, he could probably get a probation, and he could probably pay a big fine. And if Trump or anybody is smart and wants to take him off of it, they can take him off of that. So that's nothing. The charges aren't that deep. Believe me, with what he was looking at, this is small potatoes. This is like mash. Okay. So when you beat Rico and you beat them 15, them two 15s, he beat three huge charges. I want you to understand. And two of them were definitely going to be lights out. Yeah, he won. If you understand the court system, you need to read it because Rico carries crazy weight. He won. He won big. It's a 70-30, 80-20 win, but that's a win because he's going to be able to walk. Whereas if he had a lost any of them top three, the one, two, or four, he wasn't going to see nothing for about 15, 20 years unless he. And so, yeah, they don't carry the same kind of weight. They heavy, but those two don't carry near as nothing. Two of them charges were huge. So, yeah. I think there are people who wanted him to do some time and they take the stuff, but the problem is that the case I was watching Willie D, and he had this attorney on, and the attorney broke it down really well when I watched over the weekend. Now, a couple of things could stick, but the big stuff was weak. He was overcharged, and he shouldn't have been overcharged. So they overcharged him. What's happening? What's happening? Yeah, they were. They were. He was overcharged, and it was embarrassing, you know. And I'm not a Diddy apologist or a fan or nothing, but I know what a black man what they trying to do, and also on top of that, the Rico and a black man. Are you serious? He too dumb to be that bright. And if we're gonna play that game, yep. If we're gonna play that game, then you got to bring Clive Davis and others to the courtroom. You know. So the game they tried to play was, take him out, and it backfired. And it's embarrassing for the government. That's a major ill. Cassie wasn't coerced because she was a grown woman, and she was there for 10 years. What happened to Weinstein? Wasn't he right in the court? Weinstein did have one of his cases thrown out. It's just that they got physical evidence of him on other situations. That's the difference. See, Weinstein had one of his cases thrown out. Yeah, but yeah, Epstein. Yeah, well, Epstein's situation would have blew the whole roof off. You would have had Trump, Clinton, and others involved. Oh, it'll be something will happen to him. He'll have to pay some money. He ain't gonna never go to court, but he'll have to pay money. He ain't out the woodworks. This been festering. Actually, I had heard about Tyler Perry. This was going down over a year ago. I had heard about this actually. So that they just now doing it. It was a year in the pipeline. So that was not a surprise. Well, because Cassie wanted the lifestyle. She knew what she signed up for. She left her boyfriend Ryan Leslie, who was a music producer, and she agreed to it. What are you talking about, Ken? They don't. Well, R. Kelly got overcharged, and he got double jeopardy. Yeah, Jerry Lewis got a whole slap, high five. Elvis did too, but R. Kelly got overcharged though, and he got double jeopardy. But he had no money. His money went funny, and they control everything, and they want him gone. I believe that. So it's a very evil, demonic business. And if I thinking if Diddy gets something put together, he probably will best to stay out of sight. But since he just got those two little cases, and they're not going to stick, not that'll be the kind of time they would have thought. So, again, this was a week. And again, government got nothing else better to do but chasing black men in business and want to make an example of them, but they don't do nothing to the counterparts. It's just always, you know, it's just so predictable because it happens in the industry left and right, and nobody don't say nothing. So, but I hope Diddy's case that he got his wake up call that he won't do nothing, that he will actually be hip and understand that they ain't got no love for him. Well, it was done for more entertainment pleasures. but he wasn't running the business. So he flew people in, which how you gonna charge him for flying people in really, who are in the industry that they call what they do, and then you're gonna turn around and so you don't have them. Oh, it is messy, but it was done by the industry because he spoke out about that alcohol, and that's what people end up trying to clap on him about. That's what that's about. He got too big for his britches, and he wanted to spank him, and this is what you're getting. But it was a waste of money. A waste of money. Because if I'm kind of like this. Yeah, he did win. He did win, but he had to be worth a lot of money, and that's kind of the reality. And he had to have the kind of team that could do it. I appreciate you though. Appreciate you for coming through. Thank you as always. Well, you're supposed to defend yourself with what you got. It is assets. If you don't protect yourself, what you think you're gonna get that money, and then because they trying to take it away from you. So it's not like that money just not gonna get touched. They gonna mess with you. But you gotta have the right lawyers. You gotta be lawyered up. You gotta be prepared. You don't get that luxury of just going off into the sunset. I think this was all said and done. He found out who his friends were too, which ain't that many. But they make an example out of you. Mm, they sure will. And it's always a contrast. As 20 years ago, Michael Jackson had that bogus case, except he won his all the way clear. People crack jokes and say all kinds of stuff, but and again, he's not Mr. Clean by no stretch. Mm-mm. But to be heavily charged like that, well, look who's the president. So before you come at Diddy, look who's in the White House. Birds of a feather tend to flock together. Just remember that. Think about campaign money. Think about the situation, and that should answer some of that question. It's not doing anything that the country hasn't already had people do already. The difference is that he was overcharged. See, I want you to understand something. If you in the government, if you lose a RICO case, if you bring a high profile, bring them in, and you don't do your due diligence, and you don't have the right people and set, and you present this, and you have to take charges off the table, and you're trying to create a, and you're trying, and this is a L for them. This is embarrassing for them. This is a shame, a sham, because they raided his house, they made a whole mockery, and then this is what they get in return. So that's what it was. They look pathetic. And I'm not even a Diddy fan. I don't even roll with Diddy. I respect his business hustle. I give him that. He's a marketing genius. And the guy, No, no, that's not true at all. Because first of all, the guys who usually get busted usually self-incriminate themselves. There was a guy in Seattle. He got busted for self-incriminating himself for being a pimp because he did something stupid. He got in trouble with an Uber driver. If you actually being black in the entertainment industry is drawing more heat on you nowadays, if you've been watching the last 20, 30 years, the rappers got codes on them. They actually had to pass a law where they couldn't use their lyrics in New York State. So I disagree because Tupac had all kinds of cases on him and then he talked about it. So no, they come with more attention. Actually, it used to be the other way around. You used to get into business for escapism. That's not the case no more. They coming after you. And after OJ's case, they made an example and they were trying to cut the Michael Jackson and R. Kelly and Bill Cosby and sugar on it. Tupac, yes, because Tupac had all those cases. Yeah, all those cases. He got sentenced to prison too. So they had all kinds of cases. This was a situation where they were going into his personal life to make an example of him. Yeah, well, you gotta look them up because when I tell you these situations, this stuff is all connected. It really is. And they've been making examples of black men for quite a while. You got to have your money to protect you. That's a fact. And if you thinking that they're gonna let you walk without giving up some money, you crazy. But they made the mistake of trying to make it into like a situation that it was something that you know, you know. So like I said before, they would have been better off. Whatever this was would have been that the videotape was the only reason why they even went the case, and that was a state that was assault. That was not a that was not for what this was about. So they was trying to push everything on the table. They were racist and they were very biased. It was, you know, because you don't do something like that unless you got everything, the birdies in deck. And it was because the thing about it is they was quick to rush, and the case ended up being embarrassing. So they got to take the L. I think they're gonna think long and hard the next time they go after somebody black, especially if they got a high profile. Make sure you got your facts and figures right. Well, Cassie took $20 million, and the other women. This is the thing. None of them wanted him to be locked up. It was the government's pursuit to try to make something else. And I do believe that that liquor company and the industry were like, we're gonna make an example of him, and that's what it was. The thing is that he had enough money to get him a strong attorneys, but also more importantly, he had enough common sense not to get busted for anything stupid. He did, I mean, again, a lot of stuff can be settled, but when they had an open hotline, it just looked like they were out to get him by any means. Any woman they could find, anybody. But what it ended up being was just a bunch of freaky people that were into a lot of freaky, you know, type of situations. And so that does not make you what they're trying to make it out. And that made the case fall. And to be honest with you, nothing should really stuck because the case is a joke. I mean, if you can't get him for the most serious stuff, you should let him walk because that's not what you spend that kind of money and bring all those people forth just to have a case that basically is probationary to 5 years. That's not what you're going about. Yeah, but Cassie still got feelings for him though. And remember, her husband was his personal trainer. So it's gonna be messy. It's gonna be, you know. And the fact is that you know, it just it gets less and less. And the reason why he caught a W is because the government was went about, they dabbed in something. And again, I'm not condoning him. However, he was overcharged. They wanted to make an example of a black man. They wanted to make an example of something that they didn't approach it in a professional way. And that's why they took that L. And that's on them. Y'all want to play y'all want to be the big boss. Well, y'all got to finish up what y'all start. And, you know, that's all I'm saying. I know what you're getting at, but they didn't, again, it didn't go to criminal, it didn't go to state. That's where they would have messed him up. So by that not happening, you know, and then that video came out, and then that had expired as far as anything being passed with that. So you know, that was the crucifix of the case right there. That video, which had nothing to pertain to one to the other. So they was trying to throw every kind of pot. What I'm trying to say is they was trying to throw pots and pans, and they couldn't make nothing out of it. I can't really say that, and none of them. Can't say none of them because there's a guy named Isaac Curtis who was bad. Can't say none of them because their day's not done. Chad was an underachiever. He could have been even better. He was a junior whopper TO. I like Chase a lot. They got big physical receivers, but I can't even answer that. I refuse to answer about the Bengals because I just don't think they've to say that is, and they all underachieve. That's a team that doesn't get the most of what they got out. So yeah, I wouldn't say that though. I'm not. Chase is still going, but I can't answer that. I will only answer that when Chase's career is almost up. Can't even answer it because to me, Chad and AJ were like incompletes, and Chase is still a work in progress. But if Joe Burrow don't get no better, that's gonna be a waste. So I can't really even answer that. How you figure? He got cut. He still get a job. How's it poor? His health more than anything. I hope not. Why would they want? Why? Go there on a discount. I don't like to see a guy like that at this stage because when he wanted to go there, it was 2 years ago. And now he's not in the best of health. He won't even be able to play to the playoffs if they make it. And that wouldn't be a good look. And he'll be 35 by then. He'll almost lost another year of his career. Mm-mm. He'd be lucky if he has 2 or 3 years left in the tank. But he might consider retiring. I know he got a 5 year deal. So that's what some people tell you. You believe that? I watched his whole career. He ain't, he got a token. He got a token top 75. He could score, but he should have never gotten a place over Clay Thompson. Mm-mm. Or Dwight Howard. Mm-mm. He's a great offensive scorer, but I'm not feeling no top 75 because he never to me could contend. I have to give him nothing because he can score with those guys. There was no KD in that final in that East Western Conference Finals in 2019, and he lost all 4 games in the fourth quarter to Golden State. Steph and Dre beat that butt, but he doesn't motivate. He's a stat pattern. That's how I look at him. So, but anyway, I'm sure somebody will pick him up, but it ain't the same no more. He's on his last legs though, so anyway, that's all I can say about that though. Dame gets a lot more attention these years. So. All right. Glad there are a few people come through today. Like I said before, I'm about to stop touching the screen because every time I try to send something with an advertisement, they always put a black screen on me. So I don't be understanding this. Anybody's still on, let me know. I will, if I don't see nobody on, I'll be on for like a half hour more. Let's see. But anyway, yeah. So Diddy, yeah, it's pretty good for him. We'll see how everything turns out. Mhm. So anyway, I think everybody pretty much didn't talk themselves out today. We just don't really. I'll be on for just a little while longer. Seems like everybody kind of gone. The live streams going on. Things just kind of went quiet. So we'll see what we got. Um, Tim Duncan and Tim Duncan and yeah, I said Tim Duncan is one of them. Um, I don't know. I really don't really think about it too much because that's a war that is not really respected. I mean, Dwight Howard got a bunch of them, and Rudy Gobert got a bunch of them, and I feel like those cats had incomplete careers. Dwight never did nothing on offense to match near the. So it's you know, but Tim Duncan would be one of them. He was a complete player. I I think Shaq could argue he made because in 2000 he did finish up in second, and I thought that what he did that particular year was so dominant that it kind of was lost. So I'll say that. Yeah, but he didn't do nothing on offense, and that's the problem. Had he had an offensive game, he'd have been more dominant. I think that's what hurt his cause with a lot of people. But for all them defensive player of the year awards they got, they didn't dominate, and that's the problem. So take it for how you want to take it. Well, that's because he was guarding the perimeter. Even though Duncan was damaging that finals against New Jersey, that stat line was insane with all those blocks and rebounds, and he just again, but boom, guarding Kobe, guarding Dwayne Wade. Yeah, I get it. But it's also popularity contest too, so it ain't always just based on one thing. So it is a popularity contest. So let me address that. Matumbo was great, and Ben Wallace was great, but they didn't score points. So they're not. How do I say this? Matumbo had a uniqueness about him, but then it also became like a sideshow. Ben Wallace was bad for what he did, but in a lot of ways, he was like a triple junior whopper, broke Moses Malone. He had no offensive game. So, you know, if you're one sided pony with that size and you don't really dominate, you kind of get kind of forgotten because you got to have some offense. So that's why those guys are hurt their cause because their offensive game was abysmal. Rudy Gobert, aside from when he played the Lakers, he stunk most of the time. Dwight wasn't bad. How you put the handcuffs when a guy got 26 and 14? I'm gonna leave if you say something ignorant like that again on here, please. If the Lakers had won that finals in '04, Shaq would have been the MVP of that finals. Okay? That's not putting handcuffs. You're just saying stuff for shock value is not cool. I actually watched those games. He never stopped Shaq. You act like Shaq was averaging like 10, 12, like he's averaging the White Howard numbers against him. Not close. 26 and 14. He did that in the previous finals, but he also had help. Did he have any help in that finals against the Pistons? Did Kobe Bryant look bad in that finals? It's great. 26 is great. 26 is more than Ben Wallace and Dikembe Mutombo put together, and Rudy Gobert. Now, when them three can average 26 points in the finals, you wake me up, especially with Rudy Gobert. He also had 14 boards. So how is a handcuffs when a guy's 26 12, averaging double double? How's that handcuffs? What did Kobe Bryant do in that finals against the Pistons? See, if you want to talk facts, talk facts. If you want to talk cartoons, just talk cartoons. Derek Fisher was non-consequential. Rick Fox was non-consequential. The bench was non-consequential. Shaq was basically on an island by himself. Karl Malone did a little bit, but Karl Malone was too old at that time. No, that ain't what you said. You said put handcuffs. Outplayed him. Did he ever outscore him in a game? No. How's outplaying him when he ain't outscore him and out rebound? What is your logic? And you won't talk about Kobe, so you're not having a fair basketball conversation. You won't talk about Derek Fisher. You're not having a fair conversation. You won't talk about Rick Fox. You won't talk about Karl Malone. You got something against Shaq, so I mean, this is just, it's not even making logical sense. He never shut the man down or shut him out. The Lakers were flat against Detroit. It was a team effort. But even Larry Brown ain't gonna say nothing that ignorant and say that ain't nobody stopped no Shaq. He played well enough, but he didn't stop him. If someone's putting up 26 and 14 or 26 and 12, that's not exactly that's not handcuffs or stop. It's a shame I don't have anybody else come on here and wants to comment on this because no one would say that saw it. They give Detroit the team their due. If anybody got outplayed, it was Gary Payton against Chauncey Billups. If you want to use that logic, I will give you that. Because that was the most, besides how horrible Kobe Bryant was in that finals, Gary Payton got ate up by Chauncey Billups. I'll give you that. 2 points less. Shaq still almost had a double double. What's your point though? When you factor in that for the whole series, what's your point though? That's a wash. Aside from the boards, that's a wash. What's your how's that? How is that? Yeah, but won't you talk about the whole series? You're just nitpicking a part here and a part there. Put the whole series up. Ben Wallace was never seen no Shaquille O'Neal in his peak in his prime, but he had the better team that series. Again, if you want to use Chauncey, the real difference was Chauncey Billups and Gary Payton. I ain't gonna say all that. He knew how to play his. He knew how to defend. I'm not gonna say much better. A guy like Shaq, because of the fact of what he can do on offense, creates defense. So the thing is that Detroit was able to throw bodies, and they didn't have to worry about Kobe, and they didn't have to worry about Peyton. They didn't have to worry about Karl Malone. They didn't have to worry about Fish and Fox. So, but you just want to focus on Shaq. Your whole agenda is focusing on Shaq. It's not talking about the fact that the Pistons outplayed the Lakers. If you came with that answer and that observation, I might say, okay, you. I mean, I won't argue that. The fact that Larry Brown out coached Phil Jackson, the bench was more effective. Lindsey Hunter and them coming off the bench, Eldon Campbell. I watched that series. I watched that finals. You come with those facts, we're good. But just to just use it as a Ben and Shaq thing, which doesn't even balance it out because it wasn't a man against man. This ain't like a Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain situation. Ben played great in that finals, but he didn't outplay Shaq where you sitting there like, oh, like there was some competition. No. Kobe was horrible in that finals. Gary Payton looked lost in that finals. Fish and Fox looked old. And Karl Malone was old, but he did pretty good for what he could do. But the bench got ate up. Salavo Minkadinka was getting tore by Rasheed Wallace. It was just not a good finals for the Lakers, and that was the bottom line. So, but anyway, I think I'm gonna conclude because I can't have no conversation with this. This is just not going really well. Anyway, I appreciate when it came through, and I will be back another time, and hopefully, I'll have a better balance of conversation because this just ain't really cool with how that went down, unfortunately.